Hey, it's Alex, and this is Type Feedback Time, where I'm gonna be helping you to improve your type-related projects such as fonts, logos, posters, and stuff like that. This is the first pilot episode, so it's not gonna be very long, but stick around if you want to see more. Initially, I was going to make it on Instagram, but then I realized that this YouTube platform will probably work better because I can speak and I can show you things on the screen. So let me know what you think about this format and let's get started. Okay, this typeface is by Josiah from Christchurch, New Zealand. And the typeface is inspired by that place, kind of bold and friendly. And I can see the amount of work behind this project. I mean, it's very well done. I just have a couple of notes on some details here. So first of all, when you design a font, think about what is the smallest gap that you can have between the elements. So in this case, if you see this A, this gap between its tail and its bowl, this is kind of the smallest gap that you should have in this font. But here in this G, this tail is way too close to this kind of spine. So I would suggest to open it a little bit more here, as well as in this FF ligature. This is very close. And so another little problem I noticed here is the ligatures. This FF is exactly the same situation as FF here in this FFL, but you made them different, and I don't think that's a good idea in this case, because it's just the same situation. And also this part here, it goes inwards, and I believe it's the same in the default kind of single F. But for some ligatures you made it straight, and I'm not sure it's a good idea to mix kind of two approaches. So I know it probably would have too much space here, but maybe if you could make the angle a little bit different, maybe that can help. But I would not make them really different like that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the typeface is good. Just amazing job, man. Okay, this one is by Nina from Tomsk, Russia. And the idea of this typeface is that you can combine kind of handwritten letter forms with more of a classic sans shapes. And I like this idea a lot. I think it has a lot of good potential, but I think it still needs some work. Here's my suggestion for you. I would suggest you to get rid of every nice curved element in the uppercase. Just make the whole uppercase kind of standard, boring sans. Get rid of all of these curves, this R, this Q, this H, and then you can make every lowercase letter kind of like real handwritten script. For instance, this A is just amazing, the Z as well, the Y is good. But this, where's the M? Yeah, this M, I don't think that works. You kind of have this kind of standard sans M, and then you add this little tail, but it doesn't really work this way. So I would suggest you to make it really fully handwritten. Another little thing is that you need to make sure your proportions are consistent. Right now you have some letters wider than some others. So for instance, this M is quite narrow and this P is really wide. This H is also quite narrow and Q is wide. So make sure every letter has the same kind of width optically. This G is kind of lower for some reason than other letters. So I would suggest you to make it higher. Okay, but other than that, I think it's worth finishing. It's really interesting idea, and just keep working on it, and I think it's gonna be really good. Okay? And this is Resistance Mono by Hammam from Indonesia. And the idea of this typeface is that it's inspired by Wim Crowell and Star Wars and early digital era and stuff like that. And I mean, this typeface looks very good. It reads well. I mean, it's almost finished. I have just a couple of little notes here, and one of them is, let me zoom in really close, and I'm not quite sure why did you make this this A and the S as well curved. All of the other letters have kind of more digitalized angular shapes, and this A is smooth. So my suggestion here is to make this spine closer to this shape. I'm sure there should be a way to do that, and the S as well, and the uppercase S as well. And also, let me scroll over here. You have these beautiful Cyrillic letters. And to me, as a native speaker, it looks pretty good. I have a little note here on this B, on this B sound or letter. This tail is kind of short. I would suggest you to make it longer, and maybe this kind of shape can work better in your style, because you have these little hooks, or what would you call them, little serifs on other letters, so maybe this shape can work better. And another little thing is this uppercase B, which, because of this part here, it looks kind of more like 6. And it's often the problem, and this part just makes it even more problematic. So I would suggest you to make this part just straight. Other than that, it's pretty good job. It reads pretty well, and it looks pretty well. So good job. Okay, so this beautiful thing is by Chris from Greece. How cool is that? And yeah, obviously I know nothing about the Greek alphabet, so I'm gonna try my best, but so I really love the idea, this kind of elegancy, the high contrast, but I think you still need to improve consistency, especially in width and weight. So for example, have a look at this N, or at least that looks like an N. It feels a bit narrower than the O, and it looks narrower than this kind of reversed 3 shape. This thing looks wider than this. And this K, this uppercase K, looks way wider than this A, I guess, alpha. It looks way wider, it looks way heavier, and so I understand the idea. It's very kind of broad, spatial typeface, but I think you can improve the consistency of it. So the idea is to make sure the white space, or in this case black space, between the letters and inside of letters is equal. So this way you can achieve a more of a kind of nice pattern, nice texture. And also this M, if it was a Latin M, I would not be happy about this kind of curved part. If you want to make it curved, make both of them curved maybe, but one of them looks kind of weird. At least if it was Latin. I don't know, maybe it's okay in Greek. And also this, I guess F, am I correct? In Cyrillic it's F. So this shape, it has very, very little negative space here and here. So you need to make it bigger somehow. I know it's tough, but it is what it is. And of course, there is some problem with spacing and kerning, but I guess it's the next step. So it looks good, still needs some work, but keep working on it and it's gonna be very, very good. Okay, this typeface is by Michiel, I believe from the Netherlands. And the idea here is that it's designed as a monoline single stroke skeleton with some brush stroke applied to it. And I guess the idea is that you can manipulate the brush stroke and it will change every letter at the same time, kind of generative design. And I like the idea, it's very cool, and it's also exactly how calligraphy works. But the difference is that in calligraphy you can rotate the brush or the pen depending on the letter form. So I would suggest you to apply the same kind of adaptivity to this digital design. So for example, the Z can have the middle stroke just as thin as the D has it, and the A as well, and the N can have the middle stroke as thick as, as the C has it or the E has it. And also this 8 can have one stroke in the middle thin and another thick. So that can work that can look just better. So yeah, I would just suggest to favor the stroke weight more than the idea, the angle. And I don't know if you can achieve that in Illustrator, so maybe you'll need some coding here. So yeah, it's a very cool project. I suggest you keep working on it and achieve something even cooler. Okay, this beauty is by Abel from Porto, Portugal. And I mean, look at that. The curves are really smooth. I mean, you know how to draw letters, obviously. So I would just suggest a couple of little things to improve. And one of them is this A. I know you have this weird construction, and I like it. What I don't like is the way you connect the thick stroke to another thick stroke. I think that breaks the whole idea of this high contrast typeface. So I would suggest to try to make this upper part of the stroke thin, and then maybe it can curve, maybe it doesn't need to be straight. Yeah, I just think you can find a little bit better solution here. And I know you have like a more usual version of the A, I saw that, but for this specific version, I think that this should work a little bit better. Another problem is this T. The thing about T is that it should stand. Like imagine if it was made of a physical material and you would put it on the floor and this form would fall over because it doesn't have anything to stand on. Let me scroll all the way to your beautiful italics. Yeah, this is a good example. This I is just perfect. This is a really good letter form. But this T, can you see the difference? It kind of doesn't stand. So I would suggest to take this part, this form, and apply it to your T's in both upright and italics. This F is a little bit problematic in my opinion. It works really well here, but here in this heavyweight, it looks off. It looks kinda a bit too funky, too weird. So I would suggest to tone it down a little bit. Let me scroll all the way here. I saw you have these alternatives, and I know you have these more usual shape, but I would suggest you trying kind of this kind of form instead. Obviously, it's a very rough, very quick sketch. The contrast is bad. I just made it really quickly. So I would suggest to try maybe this option, maybe something else, but this feels a bit too much in my opinion. And also I think you have a little bit of inconsistency of the width, especially in this heavy style. So this Y feels a bit too wide compared to O, and this Z as well, and this K maybe as well. So I think you can try to make all the letters a bit more consistent in width. And in this lightweight, it's more consistent. I think it looks better here. I don't have any problems with this Y, but with the heavy styles, it's a bit too wide. Yeah, so other than that, I think it's really beautiful. As I said, you obviously know how to draw letters, so these are just a couple of my suggestions. Yeah, good job! So that's it for today. I hope it was informative and useful. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You can also do the like and subscribe thing if that is something you are into. And if your project was not selected for this video, well, that's because I received a lot of submissions and had to pick some of them. And I have some plans for this channel, so if you like typography, graphic design and stuff like that, stick around and have a nice day. Hopefully see you later.